Give me land, lots of land under starry skies above. Don't fence me in. Let me ride through the wide open country that I love. Don't fence me in.
Those first two lines of the poem, written by Robert Fletcher, an engineer with the Montana Department of Highways in 1934, and first recorded by Cole Porter in 1944 as a song, truly portrays the feel of Montana and the pride its residents have in this state.
Hi, I'm Steve, and welcome to Steve's Spots, where I visit those maybe not so well known places you may not find in a normal tourist guide. Today, I'm at the Range Rider Museum in Miles City, Montana.
Let's talk about Miles City for a second. After the Battle of Little Bighorn in 1876, the U.S. Army created permanent forts in eastern Montana. One of these forts was constructed on high ground 2 miles to the west of the mouth of the Tongue River and was called Fort Keogh. Fort Keogh was named after Captain Miles Keogh, who was one of the dead at the Little Bighorn and whose horse, Comanche, was the lone survivor of Custer's command. It started as a few rough winter cabins, but grew into a moderate-sized western fort, from which its commander, General Nelson A. Miles, effectively brought the remaining uncontrolled Native Americans into subjugation during the last decade of the 1800s. General Miles always said that whiskey caused him more trouble than the Indians. So, after getting tired of drunken soldiers causing problems during the winter campaign, in the spring of 1877, he evicted the settlers who provided this alcohol. Settlers were civilian merchants who sold non-military provisions and other services to the soldiers. Every fort had these authorized merchants. They actually had to get a license from the military commander to operate, and they were usually located on the post itself, and they charged exorbitant prices. Moving 2 miles away from the Tongue River cantonment, these early merchants founded the first Miles City. Although referred to as Milestown, the first post office and first official plat both called the town Miles City. Livestock speculation brought thousands of cattle to the open ranges in the late 1880s. The railroad was extended through the area, and Texas drove thousands of cattle to Miles City to fatten them on the free grass and move them to where they could be loaded onto trains bound for the slaughterhouses in Chicago via the Milwaukee Railroad. Eventually, the city was incorporated in 1887. Miles City experienced rapid growth until the 1920s, 1930s, but became overshadowed by the upstart river town of Billings, about 145 miles west on the Yellowstone River, and at the crossroads of many transportation routes. Although losing out to Billings as the economic center of Montana, Miles City is the county seat of Custer County and has a population of about 8,400 people. Now let's talk about the Range Riders Museum. The Range Riders Museum was founded in 1939. In the past 80 or so years, the museum has grown to include 13 buildings housing a total of over 38,000 square feet of display area. The museum's 13 acres also presents numerous historic buildings for visitors to observe and enjoy. It's open from April 15th to October 15th, depending a little bit on the weather in this part of the country. It is jam-packed with exhibits ranging from the age of the dinosaurs to the 21st century. Exhibits include the history of the Native Americans who lived in this area for millennium, the American pioneers of the range country of the Great Plains, and the soldiers who came, including General Custer, for whom the county is named, as well as General Miles, for whom the town is named. The museum is fortunate as every item, of which there are literally thousands of them, building, monument, and windmill have been donated. Therefore, it's not dependent on tax dollars for support. The current curator is a fourth-generation Miles City resident. In fact, her great-grandfather, Christian Bartholomew, was stationed at Old Fort Keogh and served as a musician, photographer, and trooper. Some of his amazing photographs are on display in the museum, and they accurately depict the area in the days gone by. An in-person visit to the museum provides visitors a uniquely enjoyable feel of the exhibits and buildings, since many of them are exhibited in a true-to-life scenario. including this military married officers' quarter. As you can see, some of them lived very luxuriously. An authentic, true-to-life country school with its various equipment inside. As a matter of fact, I used to sit at a desk like that when I was going to grade school. And prairie homes, like this authentic prairie home that you can see with all the equipment and utensils that they used during that time period. Now, I have a question for you. What do you think this thing is? I'll tell you at the end of the video. The Range Riders Museum captures the essence of the area, the Indian villages, the ranches, the railroads, and Fort Keogh, and all the things that make southeastern Montana special and historical. The C.M. Russell Gallery with prints by the famous artist, a collection of photos of early day residents of the area, and 3 shops of women's clothes, hats, and shoes from the 1800s to 1900s. There's also a collection of about 1,200 arrowheads that fill over 12 showcases. Everybody who was anybody in southeastern Montana's early days is represented at the Range Riders Museum. In fact, plenty of people who were just ordinary folks are there too. Cowboys, Native Americans, sheep herders, school teachers, homesteaders, business people, and the Army personnel. So, pretty much everybody. As I mentioned earlier, all of the items that are on display here were donated by people who live in Montana, and many of the buildings are buildings that were brought here from other parts of the state. There's even one whole building that displays nothing but handguns and rifles that were used here in Montana during this time frame, and another that shows all of the different types of saddles that were built in this area. There are even many oddities that you can find on display here, such as this chair made out of antlers. Then there's the largest building of the museum. It's called the Wagon Depot, and it boasts a fantastic collection of antique vehicles, from cars to covered wagons to army transport and delivery wagons of all sorts. It also houses a huge eclectic collection of everything from early office equipment to farm tools. Now, it takes several hours to see everything the museum has to offer, and it's easy to spend an entire day looking at the displays and exhibits. I would highly recommend that you spend that entire day to go through this museum thoroughly, and also to take some time to go through the city and look at the different things there, and we'll talk about that in a couple minutes. Now, the Range Riders Museum is the thing to see in Miles City, but there are other things there too worth a visit. For instance, there's the Waterworks Art Museum, which has many unique exhibits. Then you can go visit the Tongue River Winery and pick up some local wine. And then, of course, there's Main Street, Miles City. You can go visit Main Street and eat in some of the restaurants, visit some of the old buildings, and just enjoy yourself there for half a day or so. And if you come in May, there's the Bucking Horse Sale. The Bucking Horse Sale is the largest horse auction in the United States and one of the largest rodeos in the United States. For a small museum, the Range Rider Museum provides a lot of information and has the power to provide a very unique experience for those who walk its halls and rooms. This has got to be one of the best regional museums I have ever visited in all of my travels. I'm certain that you'll thoroughly enjoy your visit to Miles City and this museum. If you're traveling through Montana on Interstate 94, be sure to stop and spend at least a day here looking at the museum and going through the town. I said earlier that I would tell you what this is. It is a cream separator that separates the heavy cream from the milk. It was invented in 1878 by Swedish inventor Gustav de Lavelle. Well, that's it for now. This is Steve, and I'll see you next time on Steve Spots.